Welcome to Nightmare Echoes. Listen, scream, and embrace your horror obsession. I'm your host, Eleazar, and in this episode, Steven joins me to talk about The Mist. How does this movie connect to The Dark Tower? What went wrong with the handling of the Mercedes-Benz? And where does Mrs. Carmody rank among horror's most terrifying cult leaders? If you'd like to follow us, all our links are in the description. Next week on the podcast, Event Horizon. But until then, a movie that'll have you remember to pack extra bullets, The Mist. Hello everybody, welcome back to Nightmare Echoes. I'm your host Eleazar. I'm joined again by Steven. Steven, how's it going?
Hey, it's good to be here today to talk about The Mist, another great Stephen King story.
Yeah, came out in 2007. It's 2 hours and 6 minutes long. Directed by Frank Darabont, who also did The Green Mile and The Shawshank Redemption, which are also Stephen King movies. For this podcast, I took the notes while watching the black and white version because Frank Darabont believed that the movie would be scarier in black and white, and while they didn't let him do it for the theater release because they were afraid it wouldn't make any money, they let him put out a DVD that was a dual set, so you have the colored version and the black and white version. So I thought it'd be fun for this to do it with the black and white version. So if there's any color that's important that I miss, you're free to let me know.
Well, there's red when the blood comes.
Yeah?
Yeah. No, but I didn't know that. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting movie. I was wondering why you chose this one to ask me to talk about it with you. Is it because it was Stephen King or?
Yeah, well, we're doing different monsters, right?
Yeah.
And this is not your universal classic monster, but it could be argued that this is Cthulhu or Cthulhu adjacent, maybe, with those ancient monsters that come out. I definitely am fascinated with by the Cthulhu mythos. If people don't know who that is, just for the listeners, H.P. Lovecraft was a writer in the 1920s and 30s who wrote a series of novels all about these ancient creatures that will one day come back and destroy the earth. So I felt like while we're covering all these monsters, it'd be fun to include this one. Plus, I know you like covering Stephen King movies. For me, the ending is amazing, and I don't want to get there yet. But it's always stuck with me. Same with 1408. I don't know if you want to cover that down the line, if you've read it or watched it. But that was intense. Yeah.
When I first saw this movie, I was kind of watching from afar because I was working on calculus, and my roommate was watching it on the TV. And it was just, it's a weird combination, but I did have a fond memory of halfway seeing it many years ago like that.
Yeah, I get you. So it's starring Thomas Jane as David Stratton. He's also been in Deep Blue Sea, Slayers, and Boogie Nights. Marcia Gay Harden as Miss Carmody, who was also in The Invisible and Mystic River. That character, Mrs. Carmody, is one of the scariest cult leader type characters that you can have. Like if you make a list of like scariest cult leader movies and this isn't on there, I'm curious what else is on your list because this is intense. She is terrifying. It does a good job. This is definitely a character that creeps me the heck out. Then we have Laurie Holden as Amanda Dunphy, Walking Dead, Silent Hill. A lot of these actors, I think 4 actors from this movie go on to later play roles in The Walking Dead. Because Greg Nicotero worked on this movie in the makeup, he was the showrunner for The Walking Dead. So I think he got to see a lot of these actors' potential. And because of that, would go on to cast them in The Walking Dead, which I think is amazing. We have Andre Barger. I said that horrible. Plays Brent. Toby Jones. I love Toby Jones. He plays Ollie Weeks. He's in The Hunger Games, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and Captain America. William Sadler as Jim. I love him from Bill and Ted Bogus Journey. He plays Death.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And he's in The Shawshank Redemption, Die Hard 2, Salem's Lot, Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight. I like him a lot. And then Jeffrey Dunham as Dan Miller. Also from The Walking Dead, The Blob, and The Green Mile. It had a budget of $18 million and made $57.3 million, so it made its money back.
I thought that this was a really great movie just to begin with. And the way that it opens up, it's a thunderstorm, and this man is painting something looking very ominous.
Do you know what this painting
during
is?
the thunderstorm. No, what was it?
This is the cover for a movie, The Dark Tower, which is not the same with the one that came out in our reality. This is before this. So he was painting a poster for The Dark Tower. Now, in The Dark Tower, I've read all 8 books, And so many stories of Stephen King's connect to the Dark Tower in some way, whether it is a character that's related to another character, whether there's a path of somebody that connects with another character that is involved in the Dark Tower. My best example is that a character from The Shining, the groundskeeper, that goes back and helps Danny Torrance, right? The guy that teaches him about a psychic connection. When he was a young man, helped pull a bunch of people out of a bar that was being burned down in the 20s or 30s because people are racist. So he saves the life of a bunch of people. One of the people he saves the life of is the grandfather of the little boy in It who grows up to be the librarian. He's the one that brings them all together, so that's why his character is so important. Everybody else left town, became so successful. But he never left the town. Then, as he's older, after the book of It is over, years later, he's there to help stop the assassination of an old man in the book Insomnia. That guy has to stop a mass killing at a women's rights rally where Susan Day is speaking. They are not told who they're supposed to save, but they're told that someone in that conference is important and there's thousands of people in attendance. When they're finally stopping this thing, there's a little boy in the audience with his mother, and he's drawing a field of roses on this pad. And then in Dark Tower Book 7, we are in the field of roses, and that little boy's there. We don't know how I got there, and he helps Roland along his way to get to the Dark Tower. So that's one example of how all these characters from all these books work together to help the Dark Tower. Now, one thing in the Dark Tower, there's always this evil presence that is trying to destroy the existence of the tower, up until the point where it's going to try to destroy the creator of the Dark Tower, Stephen King himself. All that to say, when this storm comes in, destroys the Dark Tower poster, it's like the evil was working against the Dark Tower. To me, a reader of the Dark Tower, it felt like another time where forces are trying to make sure the Dark Tower is never created.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah. And that's why I love Stephen King.
So Stephen King likes to tie things from other stories that he has into his tales. I think that's what makes him such a great author. One of the many, many things that makes him great.
So the power goes out after the storm. We see the next day he's standing next to his wife, Steph, and his child, Billy. We see all the damages that happen. The painting is destroyed. Their boathouse looks destroyed. David is planning on making a list and go to the hardware store. He needs supplies. His son is having a good time and he runs off, which baffles both parents, saying, "Having spoken, the doomslayer departs," which is a quote from the book. When they go look to where his car is parked in the garage by the water, they find that it has been smashed by a tree. We find out that they've been asking the neighbor to cut down that tree for some time. They look onto the water and they see a mist slowly coming into the area. David says that he wants to go talk to Brent, and we find out that they've had a previous property dispute. David says he's going to be civil, and he asks his wife to get his son Billy dressed to go into town.
One thing that I noticed here at the beginning, radios are cutting out. They're not working right. I thought that was really awesome how they use the radios to show like there's ominous things happening, because in The Night of the Living Dead that happened. It made me think of this game that my son plays called The Long Drive. It's like this apocalyptic type situation that you're put into, and you just drive down this really long road. And then Roblox has a Dusty Trip, and in the Dusty Trip version of The Long Drive, they have this radio that just keeps playing these weird things. And it's sort of creepy in a way in these zombie or end of the world type movies, how they have these radios cutting in and out, like, where's the rest of humans? Where's mankind? Like, what's going on? It's a nice touch.
Cool. He gets to Brent. Brent's already pissed off. He's trying to start a chainsaw, but he's having trouble. He tells him about that bathhouse, and he doesn't get annoyed when he says that he just wants the insurance information. Then Brent points out that his 1980 Mercedes-Benz SL was also crushed, which means his insurance is going to take 2 hits. Also, behind the scenes, the Mercedes was rented. It was already badly damaged, and they were not supposed to damage it further. And either in a communication error, or someone just didn't care, but the director says he believes they just misunderstood me when I said we're not allowed to damage it further. By smashing it further in this movie, they then owed money to fix it up back to the condition it was pre-filming.
What?
Although it was already damaged, they just had to get it back to its original damaged state. So they just paid several $1,000s to make the owners happy, which was a boo-boo. So he tells him he's going into town. He asks if he can go with him, and so we cut to David driving his 1968 Toyota Land Cruiser. On their way, they pass a bunch of army trucks, and David makes a joke that the storm last night was so bad they might be headed to Oz. As many military vehicles pass, Brent asks David his opinion on what could be happening at the military base. Brent says he's heard rumors that a crash flying saucer with frozen alien bodies.
I do like David's old classic Land Cruiser that they're in. It's really cool. So like both his, well, at least this one wasn't damaged. The neighbor's car got broken, but they've got this really nice truck.
Yeah, as they get to the parking lot, Billy asks if he can go with Brent, and David says it's okay as long as he's willing to hold his hand, and Brent agrees. So I know that they've had a dispute before, but pretty much I like Brent in this movie, even though he doesn't agree with everything that David says. I believe his reasonings. I feel bad where he's coming from sometimes, and I'm sad that they can't always see eye to eye, but I like his character. We see David go to try to phone his wife.
Oh, no.
Because his cell phone's not working. What's up?
Right. He went to a payphone.
Yeah, right.
And at this point, I was like, wow, I'm going to have to explain this one to my kids. Like,
right.
They used to have phones where you put in a coin and you can talk to somebody. But yeah, it's, again, like another ominous sign that the radio's cutting in and out. Cell phones aren't working. Yeah, it's really weird.
And the payphone is next to King's Pharmacy, which I thought was a nice reference.
Yeah. But the payphone also doesn't work either.
In the store, David says hi to Sally, played by Alexa Davalos, and she played Kira in the Chronicles of Riddick. Margot and I covered Pitch Black. Sally tells him that half the employees didn't show up and the power's out, so they're really busy. He asks about emergency generator, and she says it's on, but it only keeps the food cold. And if they're going to pay, they better have brought their checkbook. And I'm like, man, I think I own a checkbook, but I don't know where it's at.
Another old thing.
We also find out that Sally babysits for David and his wife, and she says she's willing to do it this coming Thursday.
You were talking about Brent and David kind of being more cordial. I was thinking tragedies can bring neighbors together.
Completely.
Yeah, because I've been at odds with neighbors before. When a tragedy occurs, you kind of put aside your differences. The fact that you mentioned that earlier, that a military truck went by, there's lots of military presence. There are some military officers in the store with them too.
Right.
And I noticed that.
Yeah, one of those military officers also goes on to be a character in The Walking Dead in season 1.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. David says hi to Ollie, who's played by Toby Jones. He's commenting on how busy it is, and everyone's a little pissed off this morning. That's when Mrs. Carmody walks in. Ollie tells her good morning, and she says that with the lines in the store, it might not be that good, but they'll have to make do. David meets up back with Brent and Billy, and Brent is having trouble reading Steph's handwriting. David is willing to take over that list so that Brent can get his stuff. Brent tells David, thank you for helping him out, and Billy asks if they're going to be friends now, and David says he thinks friends might be a little much, but Billy likes that they don't seem to be mad at each other now. We see someone here reading the Castle Rock Times, and the front page article reads, Electric Storm, largest on record. But if you pause the article, it's this gibberish that is apparently standard gibberish that you use in editing software. It reads like, Lorem ipusum dali sit arnemet consecturtum ad asperi elect. I talked to Jesse about
notice that? Yeah, it's lorem ipsum.
I always read the newspaper articles in movies. I pause them when I'm covering them for the podcast.
It wasn't even an article. It was just lorem ipsum.
The title was real. Mm-hmm. So I talked to Jesse about this. He said this is a famous gibberish based on chopped up version of an old Latin book. It's also used in editing software all the time. So if you're just trying to fill a page with writing that at a glance would look convincing, this is what you use, and it just repeated over and over and over.
Yeah, so
it's fascinating.
Lorem ipsum.
Yeah, right? So while they wait in line, this is where the military people show up. The one we most care about in this movie is Private Jessam, and he says hi to Sally with a smile. One of the men says that the bus leaves in 30 minutes, but Jessup tells him that they have time. We meet a few other people here. Irene, who's a school teacher, as well as Amanda. Brent notices the military people are showing up now, which follows by 2 police cars, a fire truck going down the road. The military men are now being told their 10-day leave has been canceled, but he can't tell them why.
When the fire truck went by, I saw Caddo Parish on the side of it. Mm. But that's like, if I remember right, that's like in Louisiana.
Well, Castle Rock is a fictional town.
Okay.
So they can have whatever they want in this fictional town.
It didn't jive with that they were, because I thought they were in New England or Northeast somewhere.
Right. There's another TV show I've never finished, Castle Rock.
Yeah.
Then the MP says he's going to go over to the pharmacy to check if there's other military personnel there. I know what this is like, you're about to get on leave and you get called back. Because when Jess and I were in AmeriCorps, that's when Katrina and Rita hit the South. And so most teams were called back. Their leaves were canceled to go get deployed on disaster. But our team leader was really cool and said, look, you know what? We'll deploy you as soon as you get back. Go enjoy your 4-day weekend and then come back. Then you'll get deployed. So that was kind of nice that we still got to do that.
There's an air raid siren, I think, that plays here, too. I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah.
So obviously something, yeah. Yeah. The Cloverfield. Yeah, there's obviously something bad happening.
Yeah. We see a man named Dan come running to the store with a bloody nose and blood on his shirt. He's played by Jeffrey Dunham, who goes on to play Dale in The Walking Dead. He was also in The Blob and The Hitcher. As soon as he gets into the store, he freaks out, yelling that something is in the mist and that it took John Lee and they should shut the door. A man runs outside saying he's going to go to his car, and outside we see the mist come in really fast. The man gets to his door and the mist takes over him. All the people hear him screaming.
There's lots of speculation and suspense here. It's classic horror. I love it. Yeah.
Right away, people start guessing. Mrs. Carmody says it's death. Right then, an earthquake happens. The earthquake sound was a surprise to the cast when they filmed the scene, and they had a genuine jump scare reaction. And it was filmed like old Star Trek TV show style, where someone just shook the camera, and the crew were behind all the rows, shaking everything to make it look like an earthquake was really happening. And then people move around like they're getting shook to sell the effect.
Nice touch.
Yeah. People are ducking. Light fixtures are falling off the ceiling. We see David holding Billy. I think it's funny. We see a woman who's like really holding onto her cornflake box. Like anything for comfort. Ollie asks if everyone's okay, and the manager, Bud, tells everyone to stay in the store. Then a woman played by Melissa McBride says that she can't stay there because she needs to go home to get her kids. And Miss Carmody tells her that she should not go out there because out there is the end of days. The whole group asks that everyone stay, but Melissa McBride goes on to say that Wanda is looking after Victor and she is only 8. She looks around asking if anybody's willing to help her, and everybody looks down or away, embarrassed that they're unwilling to help. She leaves and tells them that she hopes they all rot in hell. She walks out and you can't see her after about 5 yards, but we do not hear her scream. She's one of my favorite characters in The Walking Dead. Yeah.
I was going to say there's a lot of shock from all these people. So naturally, they wouldn't jump up and volunteer. Right. I noticed that David's son is worried about his mom, too.
But the manager starts telling people to clean up the store, sweep up the broken glass, and break out the medical supplies that are in aisle 3 to see if anyone's hurt.
Dude, that Ollie, right?
Yeah, Ollie's...
The grocery store worker was amazing. He's checking on people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bit later, the group is formed around David and Billy in an aisle, including Sally, Irene, Amanda. Amanda is the new 3rd grade teacher. Ollie comes over to check on Billy and Amanda and goes to get Billy some aspirin. Ollie reports that someone gave Dan a Valium, which is helping calm him down. David asks Ollie if they might have a blanket for Billy, and Ollie says he'll check the loading dock. After a bit, David leaves Billy, and Amanda and Hattie are the teachers, and says that he's going to help Ollie. On his way to the loading dock, we hear Brent making plans with other people to get out of there.
Yeah, but he said something that made sense. He said, we have to keep our wits about us. Like, don't panic. There was already a lot of shock happening. So I feel like you kind of mentioned you liked his character. I thought he was doing a good job here at this point.
Yeah. Inside the loading dock, David is having trouble breathing because the backup generator is making a lot of smoke. He turns it off, but that cuts the power and with the lights, so he trips on his way to make it out. As Amanda is grabbing medicine, we see Mrs. Carmody has made her way to the group with Brent in it to tell them that it's in the world which is brought up because of their sins. David is using his flip phone to light the way, and he hears something on the outside of the metal garage-style door. He turns to look. Something pretty big seems to be pressing against it from the outside. He runs to the door to find Ollie, Jim, and Myron, who were on their way to check on the generator. David tells them that he turned off the generator because it was backed up and asks if they heard that noise, but none of them did. Norm, who's played by Chris Owens, comes over. The group thinks David just got spooked when the lights went out, but they say they'll all go check it out. Once back there, Myron goes to turn the generator on, but turns it off really fast because it starts to do all the smoke again. Yeah. Norm says that if they turn it on long enough to raise the door, he'll go outside and unclog it. David says they can't go, and Ollie thinks because David thinks Norm is too young, so he backs him up. Both Jim and Myron are willing, but David tells them that they're either aren't understanding or trying really hard not to, because that isn't normal and there's something dangerous. Go ahead.
I was going to say there's a little bit of a tip between the men, Jim and Myron and David. David's a college-educated artist, and these guys are blue-collar workers, you can see from their name tags and their shirts and everything. So I think they're trying to do what they can. These workers are trying to do what they can, and they're a little bit offended that this guy, hoity-toity David, is trying to also do what he can, and they're at odds with each other.
Right. They think he's calling them stupid, but he's just trying to explain to them that he thinks there's something outside. They think he's just scared.
He's concerned that it might come through the door, whatever. But they're skeptical. They don't believe him, right? Yeah, and they don't believe him.
You might as well tell him it was a werewolf.
Yeah, or maybe a kraken.
Right. So Norm hits the door button, saying a quip about David's manhood. He stops at the door only part way and then looks out in the mist, and the mist acts funny because it doesn't come inside with them. Myron asks if there are any boogeymen out there, and they all laugh. Norm turns around, but then all their faces get worried. They try to warn him, but a tentacle comes out and grabs him. All the other men back up, and David is the only one to go help Norm. Dave keeps asking them to help, but Ollie is the only one to step up. More tentacles appear, and they start ripping pieces of Norm away, like his skin.
It has like spikes and teeth-like things.
Yeah, it's gross.
Into these tentacles. Yeah,
I think the effect aged well. Like, it doesn't look like bad CGI.
It looks really good.
Some of it's practical, and they added some CGI to it, but it looks really good. Mm-hmm. Ollie gets up, grabs an axe, and he's about to swing as Norm is pulled mostly out of the way, hitting his head on the door. A bigger tentacle comes in, and Jim and Myron back away as both David and Ollie try to pull Norm back inside. David and Ollie have to give up. David tries to get Jim and Myron to start the generator, but Ollie has to leap over the tentacle to do it. They watch as Ollie disappears in the mist, and David hits the door button, but one of the tentacles is in the way, and David is able to chop a piece of it free, which lets the door close. David looks at Jim, who instantly apologizes, but he adds that there was no way for them to know what David meant. Then Jim tells David that he should have explained it better.
Yeah, he's
trying to blame it on him, right? David grabs him and punches him 3 times, asking if he got a good look at it because he's got that kid killed.
I thought the grocery store worker, Ollie, really, he gets it. He has
hero.
Amazing
he's
emotional
hero, yeah.
intelligence. He understands Jim's perspective, Dave's perspective, and he tries to mediate. And I was thinking, what is this guy doing working at a grocery store?
Right.
If he's that intelligent.
I know. Ollie goes to turn off the generator, and Jim won't stop saying sorry. Myron joins, saying that they didn't twist his arm, to which Davis says that he's a kid and he's supposed to be stupid, so what's their excuse? David then tells Jim and Myron to go back into the market but not tell anyone. Ollie comes over to say that they have to tell people, but David knows they won't believe them. Ollie says they have to try so people don't go outside. David walks in all bloody, and Amanda sees him, but he tells her he is fine and asks for her to distract Billy while he changes. The men gather together, and Jim apologizes again. David says they need people to know what's going on. They don't have to know how it went down, but they need to work together to prevent everyone from going outside. So I like David here. He's like, all right, guys, let's forget the past. Let's just work together so no one else dies. Mm-hmm. Myron asks how it would get inside because the doors are closed, and Ollie points out that the entire front of the store is made of plate glass. David goes over to tell Brent, and he thinks the group is trying to make him look like a fool, picking on him because of the lawsuit the year before, which David won, but Brent thinks this is not enough. Brent calls him Hicks, which upsets Jim and Myron. Unfortunately, David tries to force him to go back there, which gets the attention of the store manager, Bud. He comes over and threatens to file a report, and Ollie tells him to write down his name, but shut the fuck up, because they all need to listen to David. David tells them that the things are in the mist, like Dan said, and Dan comes out agreeing with him, but unfortunately he didn't see what the things were. David tells them what happened in the loading dock, but Brent and Bud laugh at them, and a biker man joins in saying that they're crazy. So David tells them to go look for themselves. They have flashlights and see the blood on the floor, and they get to the tentacle. It's still there. The biker guy pokes it with a broom, and it reflexively looks like it curls up before it starts to dissolve. So then they all exit, and Bud, sounding a little humble, tells the whole group, "It appears we may have a problem of some magnitude here." So managerial. So then they cut to everyone organize a team to block the windows. They're putting what looks like bags of feed and fertilizer to block it, kind of like you would in a flood. Dan gets up on the ladder to duct tape some of the windows with a big crack in it. We see Mrs. Carmody praying while crying for her to be able to help the people there by preaching to them. She says that she believes that maybe only a few cattle can be saved, while most of the group will swim in a lake of fire. Then she's interrupted by Amanda, who just wants to use the bathroom. Amanda tries to be nice and saying that it's okay for Mrs. Carmody to be scared, and if she needs someone to talk to, she would like to be her friend. Mrs. Carmody tells her that her friend is God and accuses Amanda of being condescending to her. She tells her that the day she needs a friend like her, she'll squat down and shit one out.
Oh, that was...
Like, what the hell?
And yeah, this lady's off her rocker, if you will, like reading from the Bible and preaching, but then obviously she's a hypocrite.
In the front of the store, Brent does not believe them and will not lift a finger to help them barricade the windows. He sounds like he's arguing in a court of law, saying that they haven't provided enough evidence, and accuses them of throwing cow's blood on the loading dock floor. Mrs. Carmody appears, telling him that he should believe because there's no court of appeals in hell. Brent says he's willing to speak with people in another part of the store who are willing to speak rationally. Mrs. Carmody says that this is the apocalypse and that they should be prepared to die, which upsets Jim, who I might note has been drinking. Jim is trying to use violence to shut her up, but Myron and another man have to hold him back.
Yeah, some of the men pulled out beers from the fridge there at the store.
You might as well. I mean, what else are you going to do?
I mean, I was thinking, a lot of these guys are like trying to calm down or whatever. They grabbed a brewski. Ollie even has a
Anybody
sip.
else have more volume? A man with a child, and Amanda ask her to stop because she's scaring the children. That fuels her more, saying that the kids need to be scared. She tells everyone that they need to take a side. And then she explains that the good book calls for expiation. Amanda asks what that meant, and she says that God wants blood, and that Norm was the first. Amanda slaps her, telling her enough. Jim is annoyed because he couldn't hit her, but Amanda is allowed to. Unfortunately, this does not stop her, and she keeps talking and goes on to say that someone will die tonight. Ollie says that if she doesn't stop, he will tape her mouth shut. And she tells Amanda that she will be on her knees in front of her before this is through. And then she finally walks away.
Wow. David said something wise to his son, that maybe the lady is scared too. Yeah. And so this is how she's showing it. I thought that was a good line.
Yeah. David comes over to some guys playing cards and tells them that they could help blocking the windows. Private Jessup agrees and tells them to get up and go for help. Billy says that he's scared for Mom, and David promises that he'll do everything in his power to get her back. The group asks Bud if he has a gun in the store. One guy says he has a shotgun in his truck, but David thinks that's too risky. Amanda pulls out a Colt SF-38 6 Special out of her purse, saying that it was her husband's idea because he is away a lot. She says it's not loaded, which they think is useless, but then she pulls out 2 speed loaders, meaning they have 12 total rounds. They ask if anyone can shoot, and Ollie says that he can.
Ollie can shoot too.
Bud, ever the asshole, thinks Ollie is full of shit, but then he loads the gun quickly and tells them that he was the target shooting champion of 1994.
That's pretty cool. This guy just gets better and better. I was thinking about that. They were asking, can anybody shoot? And there's military guys there. I was like, aren't these guys trained?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they're spending their time drinking instead of target practicing. Brent is talking to a few others about leaving, and David tries to go stop him, but Brent says he's not going to stop. Brent says that the more he lets David talk to his people, the more he can convince them to stay, which Amanda takes offense to. Brent gives a moving speech saying that they're experiencing a disaster, and he doesn't know if it's man-made or natural, but he knows it's not supernatural, because Sam and Dean Winchester aren't there. Just kidding. He adds that it's also not biblical, and the only way they're going to help themselves is to seek out rescue. David asks Brent to do him a favor and tie the rope around his waist. He asks what for, and David says so they know how far he got, and they'll know if he at least got 300 feet. The biker guy says that he'll do it. We find out that he isn't going with that group, that he is going to make a play for the other guy's shotgun because he saw where he parked in the red pickup. The man hands over the keys, telling him that the shells are in the glove box, and he might as well drive the truck closer so he doesn't have to make it back on foot.
And he said, "Son, you got brass balls."
I love that line, yeah. Then the biker says he will cut himself loose if he gets caught, so Ollie offers him a steak knife, but he pulls out a much bigger knife, kind of like Crocodile Dundee, you know. This is a knife. David whispers to Brent, asking if there's any way he can talk him out of it, but Brent says there's nothing out there. David says that if he's wrong, then he guesses the joke will be on him. Several people walk out the door with Brent, and Mrs. Carmody tells them that they are going to die. The biker tells her that he believes in God, but he doesn't think he's a bloodthirsty asshole like she's making him out to be. She tells him he can talk that out with the devil when he sees him. Brent stands there for a bit and tells the group that they should head down to the center of town. We stand inside as David and a few others loosely passing the rope as it doesn't get caught. Then the rope falls. They aren't sure what made that happen, and then it resumes again, which they think means it's good, but then it starts getting pulled really fast, which burns David's hand. Irene gives him a spare cloth, maybe a shirt to cover his hands, and the group grip the rope and they're pulled towards the door. They start playing tug of war, but the rope lifts to the top of the door, giving the impression that the biker guy is high in the air outside. The rope then snaps and it falls backwards. Bud is freaking out, saying to get the rope off of him, afraid that he's going to get pulled outside. David pulls the rope back, and eventually the rope is covered in blood, and we see as David is pulling back just the waist and legs of the biker guy.
Half the body is left.
So they cut the rope and shut the door. Mrs. Carmody doesn't waste time to jump in, asking people if they now believe. It's half an hour until dark, and Jim and Myron are hooking up power lights to car batteries. It will only last 5 minutes once they're on, so they have to wait till the event that they need them to save the batteries.
So only use them for emergencies.
Right. Sally's looking in her locker when Private Jessup comes up to see her, which scares her. They talk about being worried and about her parents. He tells her that he's going overseas in about 2 weeks, and she asks why he never asked her out. Because they flirted with each other through high school, and she knows that he likes her. This leads to them kissing. As they get a little further, she pulls away, saying this is not how she would want that to happen. He asks if they could just hang out a little bit together, so they do that. Ollie comes up to the window where Dan is seeing through some holes they've left in the barricade that the lights outside have come on. He wonders if they could tap into those somehow and get the power in the store, but Ollie says that would mean going outside. Then the movie gets intense. But
it's getting dark.
Yeah. Bud is eating on a paper plate with a fork and knife. They're making barbecue in the store to feed everybody. And then a giant bug, maybe 2 feet long, which is giant compared to our bugs, lands on the window outside, causing him to scream. David comes over to see. David is holding up a lantern, which follows the bugs as it climbs on the window.
The bugs are attracted to the light.
Yeah, and so we see other bugs start to land on the window. More bugs land in the window, and people are getting worried. Mrs. Carmody starts to quote Revelations 9:3, and out of the smoke, locusts came upon the earth, and power was given to them, as the scorpions of the earth have power. We see that they have stingers. In order to see, David grabs a stronger flashlight and turns it on, and Amanda grabs another one. We see outside as a swarm of bugs. A much bigger creature, maybe 5 foot long, flies by and scares off a lot of little bugs and is screeching.
I thought it was a predator coming to eat those bugs.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's freaking massive. The creature slams against the glass and makes a big crack. Jim and Myron start to turn on the lights, but Ollie realizes that the light is attracting them. Mm-hmm. So David starts hearing this and yells to turn off the lights, but Jim doesn't hear and is still turning them on. People start running back and someone is trampled on. Mrs. Carmody quotes Revelation 16:1 while backing away in fear. Then I hear a loud voice from the temple saying to the 7 angels, "Go pour out 7 bowls of God's wrath on earth." When the glass breaks, David yells for them to turn off the lights, and David and another man work to light mop heads on fire to use against the bugs.
Just a breach in the window, and so the bugs are flying into the store. Mm-hmm. This is a very dramatic scene with David hitting bugs and them trying to burn them with this fire on the end of a mop stick.
Right.
And Ollie's sharpshooting too in the meantime.
Yeah. Amanda hits one with a rake and smushes it with her foot. Then one lands on Sally's neck, and she slowly lowers to the floor while shoving it away. Jessica goes to check on her, and she seems to have been bit. Amanda tries to help with a bigger lighter, but is foiled by the childproofing. I hate that. I can't light the stupid lighter. A man near the window smashes one of them right as a big creature lands on him and starts to bite his ear off. David's mop is finally lit, and he goes after the big creature. We see Sally's neck is starting to massively swell as she struggles to breathe. Joe is helping to light a mop, grabs another one and lights it fast, then trips over the bucket of kerosene that they're using to soak the mops in. This knocks over the bucket, sending it all over the floor, so when he lights the ground, the fire spreads and he himself is on fire. Dan rushes over, yelling for someone to grab him a fire extinguisher, and for a fire safety tip, fire extinguishers come in type A, B, C, D, and K. And while they do sell some that are labeled A, B, and C, the best one for this one is B, which is for chemicals. But if you only have one fire extinguisher, that's the one you're going to use. It's interesting. As David has a massive one against the wall with a flaming mop, Amanda squeezes a bottle of lighter fluid on the creature. It catches fire and starts flying around the store. David chases it with the mop, but breaks off the head so that he's just beating it with a stick to kill it. Someone throws a tablecloth over Joe's head, and Dan's using the fire extinguisher to put him out. A bug lands on Mrs. Carmody, who stays very still and starts to pray. The bug flies away, and she lifts her hands in the air while crying. Yeah, if you don't want a bug to sting you, don't move, and maybe it'll leave you alone. But that's if they act like our bugs. Ollie gets an amazing shot in the one creature's body, and it falls to the floor and sort of limps away. The teacher watching over Billy is struggling to keep him from running off, so Ollie follows the creature around the corner, and the creature is right next to Billy. Right then, David walks up and grabs the kid, pulling him out of the way right as Ollie fires another shot, killing the creature. In the aftermath, he hears a guy that was on fire, and we see Sally has died, and we have some men bringing a sheet of wood over the door to close it off. As David asks if they got them all, a woman starts to talk as though she believes Mrs. Carmody is a prophet, since she told him that what would come at night.
David ends with, did we get them all? The lady says how Carmody said that people would die. She thinks she's a prophet.
Mm-hmm. So later we see the biker guy's legs getting pulled away as we hear the sound of something eating his legs. Behind the scenes, the director didn't want to have to film his legs for the rest of the movie, so him and Greg Nicotero are the ones actually dragging it off.
Oh.
Which is kind of neat. Amanda works to comfort Billy, who has trouble sleeping, and then David and Amanda talk about how she's always wanted to have kids, but with everything going on, she's probably the best that she doesn't have any. Ollie comes over to get David because Joe is getting worse, though when David gets there, Joe is asking them to help him unalive himself.
He's hurt very badly and he wants to end it.
Yeah. We cut to Amanda, who needs to go to the bathroom. When asking Haiti to watch over Billy, finds that Haiti has overdosed on pills and unalived herself. David and several others plan to make it to the pharmacy to get Joe some painkillers, antibiotics, and silver sulfadione, which is used to prevent and treat wound infections in patients with second and third degree burns. Then when Amanda comes to get them, we cut to them moving her body away quietly back to the store. While in that room, David says that after the pharmacy, they should leave in a vehicle which holds 8 people. They all seem to think that's a bad plan, but he points out that Mrs. Carmody is really the only reason they need to leave. Amanda doesn't think most people would follow her, but David believes within a day she will have enough people that she would be a threat, and then she could start calling for them to sacrifice people.
Yeah, David's worried about Mrs. Carmody converting people, and he says we start dreaming up reasons to kill one another. Politics and religion.
Yeah. As they try to go to the pharmacy, Mrs. Carmody takes issue with it and has much of the crowd with her. Ollie tries to explain if they run into trouble, they'll come right back, but Mrs. Carmody says they will just be bringing the creatures back with them. Mrs. Carmody keeps rowing everybody until Irene hits Mrs. Carmody in the head with a can of peas. This gives David and the few of the others time to go. When asked, Jessup volunteers to go with them, and then Irene, who was Jim's school grade teacher, volunteers him to go as well. So Jim's like, you go, Jim. In the pharmacy, they find Oxy, Vicodin, penicillin, all before finding bodies of people that look like they've been wrapped in a spider's
But
web.
the key thing here is when they went into the pharmacy,
Yeah.
the people in the pharmacy that are all obviously wrapped up in webs now, they left the doors propped open.
Yeah. No one ran in
God.
telling them to close the door. That's someone ran in saying, "Hey, Doom, close the door."
Yeah, but they're also hearing like weird noises when they enter the pharmacy. And then, of course, they see all these people wrapped up in spider-like webs.
Yeah, they notice that there's sacks all over the MP's body. Then they start to burst, and we see a little tiny spider come out. Then Jim sees a much bigger spider, and Ollie shoots it. More spiders start shooting out their webs, and when it hits the floor, it acts like acid burning, kind of like an alien. So a big battle breaks out, and they're definitely outnumbered. Hundreds of more spiders appear for the MP's body, and then Irene is able to torch a big one with a spray cannon lighter.
I thought that the suspense before this was great in the scene.
Sure.
And the fact that the doors are propped open, the mist is all in this pharmacy. They're walking through it. These spiders, did you catch their teeth? They look like human teeth. Yeah, they were so weird looking.
Mike gets acid to the face, and Bobby has a massive burn on his leg. Ollie fires 6 shots, killing the big spider with each shot. Bobby's declared dead, and the rest run back. At the grocery store, the manager works to let them in, and they tell the group that they're all dead. Jim is crying a lot, and we see Mrs. Carmody has a look that reads, "I told you so."
Now, the injury that happens, it's like an acid burn, and I was thinking maybe you should put something basic on there and neutralize it. But then maybe it's not acidic. Maybe they should do a pH test. But
your arm burns off. Let's do a pH test, right?
But all these bugs have such unique characteristics. So there's the kraken-like tentacle that comes in. There's the spider with these weird teeth and the acidic web burn that caused this injury. It reminded me of Starship Troopers. Did you ever? Yeah, you watched that long time ago. And how these bugs are coming from another planet and attacking us. And it's sort of similar here with all these weird bugs attacking.
Yeah. After a very long sleep, David wakes up to hear Mrs. Carmody has a big group all listening to her. The group tell David that Joe has died from his burns, and they are ready to follow his plan to leave.
Yeah, Mrs. Carmody's preaching, and after David wakes up, they say, well, I think it was Amanda said, "Welcome to Sesame Street. The word of the day is expiation."
Yeah. So the group is yelling expiation. Among that group is Jim, and the group explains to David that they'd rather die in the mist trying to get out than in the store waiting. They plan to hide food out by the front, so David agrees but walks to talk to the soldiers about what the MP said. Because when they were in there, the MP said, like, it was our fault or something.
Yeah, I talked about the Arrowhead Project, and then the military guys hung themselves in the store.
Yeah, so they find Jessup, but they can't find the other 2 guys, so they walk back to the back, and this is where we see that.
So, for the Arrowhead Project, apparently there were these other dimensions, and they needed a window to get to the other side. And it appears they did open a door, causing this to happen.
Right, and this mirrors another book from Stephen King called From Buick 8, which I read in my 20s. I love this book, and it's about 3 generations of a family in a sheriff station. Like, the sheriffs themselves are like family, right? And how they all take care of each other. And one day, a long time ago, this car is there to fill up gas, which seems a little off. And throughout the book, they find out that the car itself's trunk is a portal to another dimension. Everything about the car is just almost right. It's slightly off, but they can never prove that it ever driven anywhere. And it appears that it just appeared in front of the gas station. Everyone just assumed it would drive there. The driver got out and it disappeared, was never seen again. But no one ever saw it driving. And the only time it ever moved was when they towed it to the police station. And they kept it in the shed B. They monitored the temperature and the air pressure because things got weird times. But they would see in that other side of the portal was these types of bug-type creatures. But they only ever have to deal with like 1 or 2 of them. So, but this mirrors that, right? Like, it's interesting, like how this is the same reality. And there was another portal there, which might have come from that reality.
Wow.
Which is so weird.
Wow, that's nuts. It reminds me of that old car I used to drive with you in high school. The big Grand Marquis. That trunk had a portal to another dimension. Do you remember that one time we put 2 full-size mountain bikes in the trunk and shut it down,
No.
and I locked my keys in.
Oh, that's horrible.
And so I think you had to wait there when I rollerbladed or something back home.
It vaguely sounds familiar, yeah.
Yeah, but crazy trunks.
So then Jim, who was also there to hear the MP, starts telling them about this Arrowhead project. So Miss Carmody gets Jessup. The group starts freaking out on him. They call him a Judas. They start beating him, and then one guy, I think the cook, comes up and just stabs him while saying expiation. They carry him out and throw him outside with the creatures, and David and the group can do nothing to stop it.
That was the last military man, I think, in the store with him, right?
Right.
That was still alive.
Outside, a big monster comes up that could be 50 foot tall, snatches him into the air, and Miss Carmody tells the group that it will leave them alone tonight, but that tomorrow they'll need to wait and see.
And how does she know all this? She says some crazy stuff right before
does.
this about, are the people being punished for going against the will of God? We were walking on the moon and splitting the atom and stem cells and abortion and destroying the secrets of God. Like, she's got everyone riled up. Yeah. It is crazy how she's got everyone's attention. Well, most people's attention. Obviously not David and Amanda, but most people's attention in the store at this point. To the point where they kill a man and throw him out.
That night, while falling asleep, David promises to never leave Billy alone again. Amanda wakes David up at dawn, and the group tries to sneak out. And when they get to where their food was stashed, it's all missing. But Miss Carmody is there saying that they are stealing, and she will not allow them to leave. Very fast, the rest of the people show up, and they are on her side. Mrs. Carmody has a big jug of milk and starts drinking it like a psycho, while starts to preach about how David and his group are the reason that God brought his wrath down.
I thought that this part especially just puts Christian and religious people in bad light. Sure. As cult members and violent groups, because you're hearing like, kill them all, kill them all.
I like what the biker said the most. Like, he believes in God, but he doesn't think he's
the bloodthirsty
asshole
like
that
she's making him out to be.
Yeah.
And that's what I think about when I think of, a Christian thought or even religious thought for that matter. But she's definitely got everyone in this cult-like group now that's super violent. Yeah.
So she calls for the sacrifice of the boy, pointing at Billy, and the group has to fight to keep him. Then Mrs. Carmody asks for Amanda as well, calling her the whore. Then she finally shouts, kill them all, and a gunshot is fired, going right through the jug of milk into Mrs. Carmody. Everyone backs up as Ollie fires another round into Mrs. Carmody's head. One of her followers starts to yell that Ollie murdered her, which is crazy since they were just about to kill them all.
God.
Outside, they all run for the vehicle, and Ollie gets there first. The 50-foot creature gets him. Bud and Ambrose are with Myron when they're taken down by a spider. Ambrose runs off and is surrounded by spiders, and Bud makes it back to the store. David, Amanda, Billy, Irene, and Dan make it to the car. David tries to honk to help the others to hear where they are, but no one else shows up.
It was so sad when Ollie died.
Oh, I know.
I loved his character.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was telling the group, like, stay together, because I felt like they were splitting up too much when they were trying to get over to the Forerunner. I don't know. Was it like The Ring?
Hopefully not. Oh, my God.
Only reversed?
There's a meme where it's Samara from The Ring saying you have 7 days. And it's Dean on the other line. He's like, this is Dean Winchester. And then Samara goes, wrong number. Which I think was awesome. David then notices that Ollie's gun is on the hood of the car, and so he risks going outside to get it. And luckily for him, grabs it and makes it back in the car right before a big spider smashes his head into the window. The spider then crawls over the top and leaves. The group drive past the front of the store, and we see all the faces that watch as they drive away. And we do get to see that they let Bud back into the store. Somber music plays as David drives back to his house to see that it's run over by webs, and his wife is hanging right outside the broken wall of the house covered in webbing. The group discuss that they should try to go south and clear the mist. As they pass the school bus, we see that one child inside is covered by webbing. We pass a 4-legged creature that looks like it's at least 2 times taller than the trees, and it has a lot of tentacles coming down from it. With every step, the car bounces. Kind of reminds me of Cthulhu.
Yeah.
And then they drive until they're out of gas, and we see that Billy is asleep. Dan says that at least no one can say they didn't give it a shot. David looks at the gun and sees there's only 4 bullets left. Amanda states the obvious that there's 5 of them, and David says he will figure it out. David reloads the 4 bullets, and Amanda closes her eyes and starts crying. Then Billy wakes up right before and looks at his father with his eyes wide. We cut to outside the car. We hear and see the gun flashes of 4 gunshots as David shoots everybody else in the car. Then he screams, and we cut to inside the car. He continues to scream. He tries to put the gun in his mouth, pull the trigger repeatedly, but it's empty. He then goes outside and starts to shout for creatures to come get him. That's when several vehicles come out of the mist less than 2 minutes after they gave up. It's military who are working to save people. We see that they are fighting off the creatures, and many people, including the woman who, at the beginning, who asked for anybody to help her get her kids, are there. She's with her kids. The fog starts to clear around David. He drops to his knees screaming, and 2 soldiers stop by to see if they can help him.
That's crazy.
The camera backs up to show that the military has control now, and the film ends.
Oh my god.
What the F? Like, it's the craziest ending ever.
So was the book was just
so the
like
book
this?
gives you the idea that it's going to happen, but they don't tell you what they're going to decide to do. They've like stopped at a rest stop, and he's writing in a journal, and they're saying like they don't have a lot of choices, but it's kind of left open-ended. This ending is changed to this crazy twist, and Stephen King loved this ending.
Yeah.
He didn't know it was coming, and he loved it.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine though if you were in David's predicament?
Yeah, no, I don't think I could kill my own kid.
I don't think I would have killed them. I think I would have just...
So some behind the scenes stuff. Once inside the supermarket, the outside view is a big photo of what was outside. The parking lot was a location, but inside was a soundstage. So they just put up a big picture to make it look like they were looking into a parking lot. Greg Nicotero was the second unit director and would go on to helm The Walking Dead, which he brought a lot of people from this movie to that show. Melissa McBride was a local actress in Dallas who auditioned for a 2-line role, but did so well that he wanted her to have a bigger role. A lot of the food was donated to the movie, and afterwards they were able to turn around and donate it to a shelter and nonprofits.
That's neat.
Greg Nicotero got to make the tentacle, so the cast at least had an idea of what they'd be looking at. They just added a CGI afterwards. The director was unfamiliar with Toby Jones's work, though his casting director was a big fan and had him go home and watch some films as homework. But he was familiar with his father's work, which shocked Toby because his father's work is more obscure. Bill Shatler was in the director's earlier King's works, Shawshank and Green Mile.
Mm-hmm.
The original script had the scene of the military base to show the audience where it all started, but the director said that it actually would work more as a speculation and us imagining how it started than just showing it to us.
I thought this was an amazing movie.
Yeah.
I really liked The Mist. I liked the effects, even though I'm sure they were cutting edge at the time that the movie was made. But yeah, their CG and their effects were amazing.
Yeah.
When the mist first started rolling in at the beginning,
Yeah.
and it was coming down the mountain, and Dave and his family is watching it, I thought that was really nicely done. So I found out from my smart neighbor that fog can often occur because the ground is colder than the air.
Right.
And I didn't know that before, but
That's why on the
I thought
countryside
about
there's
this.
more fog.
Okay.
Right, like water would be colder too, but like I swear if you're out of the big city,
It's water. It
the
often
ground gets
forms in
colder.
water.
Yeah.
Yeah, over water.
One other thing, the Manchurian Candidate also has a character getting shot through milk. So this was an homage to that,
Ah.
which is kind of cool.
Hey, this is a real pleasure. I'm glad to be here talking to you.
It's
Just
fun.
one more tie together that I remembered. We had talked about Maximum Overdrive before, and this is the second Stephen King story where like the characters are sort of like holed up in a store or a convenience store or a grocery store type place when all these bad things are happening around them from another dimension.
A lot of my favorite movies are one film location movies. Saw, for the most part, the two characters stuck in a cube. They're all stuck in this cube trying to escape these traps. Escape Room, they're all working together to escape these traps. So I kind of like that. Oh, Saw 2 with being stuck in the house.
Yeah.
That's so good. To me. Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you, Stephen, for being here. Thank you, audience, for listening. We have episodes every Monday. If you'd like to follow us on social media, the links are in the description. Please give us a 5-star rating on your podcast app of choice. And we hope you hear us again next time. Bye.
Bye. Which one?
I don't remember.
Okay, well.
I was hoping you wouldn't.